good.
Is very good.
Yeah.
But I think that the name recognition is what comes into
true.
play right here, right?
Right. Yeah.
But Angel, we've been discussing matters IEBC. As you saw, we were just with the chair of the selection panel. And the fact that there's a lot of skepticism, rightfully so, I would say, as far as the IEBC is concerned, especially for young people. We saw a huge amount of voter apathy in the last election. This one, I'm hoping it's a different factor. People seem a lot more engaged. But I'll start with, as someone who's been in the workings, what level of representation exists at these high levels for youth, aside from, yourself? Is it more of a tokenism, or is there actual, impetus to have youth on the table when making these big decisions as far as the IEBC is concerned?
I think the struggle to have more inclusion in decision-making bodies has been a constant conversation we have been having, and I'm proud of my generation for having come forward and made the sacrifices that have already been made. And we had a presser on Saturday morning, which was the 15th, the last day of submission of applications, and we were making it clear that we have young people from our networks who have submitted applications to become commissioners. And even as Eric was reading out my CV, I turned 30 in April, and with a master's
you will turn 30 in April.
Yes, I will.
You will turn 30.
Yes,
okay, I was about to say, I thought it was last April. Yeah, but almost happy birthday.
Yeah, almost happy birthday. Right. And that's just me now at 29 and with those accomplishments. There are young people with masters at 24, at 23. They have vast experiences working even with the African Union peace envoys. They have been working with the UN youth envoys. I mean, young people have really gotten out there to participate and become better global citizens. There are so many other young people like myself who have applied for those positions. So they won't tell us that, number one, we didn't apply. And they won't tell us, number two, that we don't have the experience or we don't have the qualification. And number three, they must give us the opportunity to present ourselves in the interviews, and we must also feature in the shortlisting of the candidates. So we are not giving them any room for any excuses. We've also written a letter to the selection panel demanding that fact therein. Even in the last selection process, we wrote a letter to them as well, reminding them that young people have applied and we need to be considered as well. But of course, that did not bear fruit. But then again, we saw some attempt to sort of try and mobilize young people with concerts and programs to sort of bring in the aspect of voter registration drive at that time. But this time round, we do not want sideshows. And as you'd mentioned about tokenism, that was a form of tokenism then. Just show that we are involving young people, but in the real sense of it, they are not. And IEBC is a very interesting institution in all the institutions that we have in Kenya. IEBC has two things. Number one, IEBC is a feared institution. For you to work in the IEBC or serve as a commissioner in IEBC is in the 1,000 ways to die in Kenya.
It requires a certain level of braveness.
Yes, you have to be ready for whatever. And that's something that we do not want to be happening moving forward with the IEBC. It is one of those institutions that hold the political stability or instability of this nation. Even when we saw the Kriegler's report and the Waki report, they cited major issues that we are citing today. There was lack of trust, there was political interference, and you see all that now coming up again. But the faith that I have in our nation today is that you cannot rig when people have voted. And we are not in the era where you can switch off the lights in a polling station and stuff in ballot papers. We are beyond that.
Or there can be a national blackout and
at a convenient time.
We are way, way past that, and we are in a different century or political times, as so to speak. And so I don't anticipate all that. But what we need to ensure, because when I was when we were counting the votes in Bomas, you could see that, rigging takes place with 5 votes, 10 votes from a polling station. So that's how they deduct 5 from this candidate and add it to the other 5. So you can see it also requires a lot of intelligence to rig elections nowadays. But then we also need to apply that intelligence in ensuring that there's the trust in the process. And that's what we are hoping to see with this selection panel. I cannot say that I fully trust the IEBC as it is. It is up to them to earn our trust right from the get-go, right from how they will run the shortlisting process, how they will run the interview process. And I had Eric mentioning that you'll see a candidate doing better than the other, but then they don't make it to the final list.
Right.
Then that is when we are going to start casting doubts on the selection panel. And I've also seen you highlighting that the chairman is a clergyman. But being clergy or not, there must be transparency and accountability. Right. It doesn't matter whether you are an atheist, whether you're a Christian or a Buddhist, a Muslim. There has to be some sense, not some, but there has to be transparency and accountability, especially with a very sensitive institution like the IEBC. Let's not forget where we were in 2007. And as a policy and political analyst, and even you as the media as well, you can tell and see that every time a president is defending their seat, there is always a lot of fear,
right,
and caution, and that rents the air, as opposed to when a president is completing a term and handing it over. And now we are going to a situation where a president is going to be defending their term, and defending their term means that we could also be in a similar situation in 2007, similar in the